Welcome folks to the channel. Ken here and wanted to do a video today on the process of doing a cam upgrade and just my perspective and the things that I've done. And apologize, my camera's up here, but I'm actually looking at my screen here, so hope that doesn't bother anybody here because I'm mostly going to be showing my screen today. But wanted to talk about a few different things. Obviously, I'm going to go through all the parts. I'm going to give you exactly what everything costs, out the door, labor, dyno, the whole thing. I have not dynoed the bike yet. I thought about waiting to get this whole video done and putting the dyno results at the very end of it, but I'll just probably do another video with the dyno results. I'm taking it this Thursday up to a place to have them do the dyno for it. So just a little bit about me too. If you've never watched any of the videos on my channel, I guess I'm a new rider, really. I mean, I haven't even been riding for a year, motorcycles. I have my motorcycle license. I did the MSF course with Harley Davidson here in Austin in May of 2023. I bought a Honda Shadow 750, rode that for a few months, mostly in parking lots and in my neighborhood and in just areas surrounding. And during that whole time, just watching a ton of YouTube, trying to figure out what bike I want, what Harley I want. Thought for sure I was going to end up on a Heritage, but I saw a video, probably Laidlaw's video, I'm sure, on the Lowrider ST at the time, and I was like, oh wow, I got it. And you couldn't even find them. This was like late 2023. You couldn't even, neither of the Harley shops in Austin even had one in stock. So anyway, I won't get into all that story for behind all that stuff. Anyway, I ended up buying one and immediately started thinking about the cam upgrade process, doing a stage 2. And I knew what a stage 3 and stage 4 was, didn't really have any desire to do a stage 3 or stage 4. Stage 2 was kind of where I wanted to go. And that's a big determining factor in what you put in your bike in a stage 2, right? So if you know you're going stage 3, stage 4, you might put bigger injectors in, you might do some other stuff, bigger intake, do the whole thing, bigger intake, throttle body, do the whole thing. For me, I knew stage 2 was going to be the end for me in this bike. Eventually, someday I'm going to end up on a road glide, I'm pretty sure. But I hadn't seen anybody do a video like this, like breaking it down. Here's the parts, here's all the stuff, here's exactly how much it costs. I did find a couple videos, and when I get my spreadsheet up that I'll put up, I'll show a couple things around. There's a couple other videos I found on the internet, on the YouTube specifically, about what some other places are charging. One of them's just a Harley dealer and what they charge for it. But the first thing I want to do is just talk about the shops and where you're getting the work done. If you're not doing the work yourself, you obviously got to go find a shop to go do that stuff and look around. Obviously, talk to people, go to your Harley dealer, talk to your sales guy, talk to guys that you ride with, get on some Facebook groups for like local riders and stuff like that. There's one, I live in Austin, there's one called Ride 512, I think is the name of it. And there's some Harley guys on there. It's a lot of other dudes, that are just riding all over the place. But they gave me some recommendations, looking on Google, and then call the shops or go down and talk to the guys and get a feel for what's going on. I'll put up, I don't know if I'll stick it up now or put it up later when I start talking about the spreadsheet, but I first found a shop that I thought was like super close to my house. The guy got good reviews, and he had a dyno in a shop. And I was like, cool, I'll take it there. It's going to be awesome. I can get it all done, get everything knocked out. Don't have to take the bike halfway across town or whatever like that to get it. Literally, I'll go pick it up. It'll be done. But the dude it was insane. He wanted like 7 or 8 hours of labor just to do the cam and injectors and intake, but that's not much. I mean, that's like maybe another hour tops. And by all accounts, I mean, any shop, a stage 2 is like table stakes, right? Any shop, especially on a new bike. It's not like you're bringing your bike in, it's running like crap, making a bunch of noises, and you're like, hey, I need you to tell me exactly how much this is going to cost to fix this bike. They're not going to be able to do that, right? They got to diagnose it. They'd have no idea what parts, whatever. A stage 2 or cam specifically, pretty cut and dry. I mean, the parts that you can use, there's a million permutations to that. But in terms of the labor, any tech that's doing this stuff all the time, it should take 3 or 4 hours for them to do a cam, and then maybe another half an hour to do the intake and the injectors, which is what I end up getting charged, the shop that I went to. So I went to a guy first, and basically this parts list and stuff that I have and what I ended up buying is mostly just me conversing with this guy. And then once we put the price together, I was like, I'm sorry, man, if we're not going to be able to negotiate. He was not negotiating at all. So he wanted 7 or 8 hours to do the job. And then he wanted another 7 or 8 hours to do the dyno tune. And he was charging $200 an hour. And then he wanted like $350 for the Power Vision license. So it's going to be like $2,000 just to tune the bike. And it ended up being like $5,200 for everything. And then he took off, just to get it under $6,000, he took off the SNS oil pump and the cam plate, which I wanted to put on there. And I was like, man, it should not cost $6,000 to do a stage 2. So don't just go into a shop and drop your bike off and don't have, hey, do a stage 2, because, you could find yourself in a world of hurt there. Anyway, I found a great shop, and they did a great job, and I'm taking the bike to go get dyno tuned. So the next part here, I just wanted to go through all the parts. In the description, I'll have links to all this stuff. I'll actually show a spreadsheet when I finish up here with all the parts, everything, how much I paid for labor. I'll actually show the labor bill, so you can see exactly what was charged for that and give you a really good idea if you do something similar. And not all the stuff that I have on here you have to do. There is a way to do this, kind of lower cost for sure. And I'll talk about that more when I get to the dollars and cents piece. But here's what I did. So first thing is, there's a bunch of kits out there. SNS puts a bunch of kits together, and it includes all the stuff, most of the stuff I would say, or certainly all the stuff that if you want, this is all the stuff that you want, it's all the stuff. But you can see here that this is a 475 cam, and it comes with everything. It comes with the oil pump, the cam plate, the lifters, the cam itself, of course, the push rods, push rod covers, gaskets, the tappet cuffs, like everything. And you can just do that. And that's what a lot of people do. And that's totally cool. Again, I went through this build with the tech that I initially talked to, but I ended up not using. He had already bought some of the parts. I just bought them from him, and then I bought some of the rest of the parts. But here's the cam that I went with. I'll stick a thing up here and show you. There's a Facebook group that I'm on. It's like Lowrider ST something owners or something like that. And some folks started posting. This guy in Florida has a shop called Those Dyno Guys, and I started watching him. It's a pretty cool channel. He'll just he'll drive his way to work for 15 or 20 minutes, and he'll just talk about gear, like talk about pipes and talk about cams and talk about dyno tuning and stuff like that. It's pretty interesting. And he's a huge fan of this cam. And I heard some audio of it, and it's got a nasty idle lope. It's freaking awesome. And just talks about, he showed several different, dyno charts with different configurations, and he loves it. It's just a great cam that builds, that has torque and horsepower all the way through the power band, right? So I ended up going with this cam. Obviously you can pick whatever cam you want to. And then with respect to like the rest of the parts and pieces, I ended up with the fueling lifters. Here is the quick change cam installation kit. And this includes all these things down here, including the inner cam bearings that you need. So those are, like the whole contraption that you got to get to take everything out, take the cam bearings out and everything. Those all have to be replaced. And so that's all in here in this package. And I believe in that SNS, is that included in here? Maybe those are down here. I'm not sure. So you got that, right? So here's this piece right here. And then there is a cam chest gasket kit that we got. And then there's some thrust washer alignment kits here. And so as you're putting the oil pump, all that stuff back in, sometimes you need these washers to be able to get everything to line up correctly. So we end up getting those. This is something, again, this is one of those, you can get it or not. This was something that he suggested or recommended to me. It's an aftermarket cam tensioner. It's about $100. I was like, sure, why not? He said it's better than stock. Can't really comment on that, but I was like, okay, cool. And again, for me, this was one of those things where I'm like, if I'm going to do this, I'm just going to do it. I'm just going to do it. I'm not going to go super crazy on it, but I'm just going to get all the stuff because performance is great. I'm not trying to eke out every eighth of a horsepower or anything like that, but reliability is really important to me as well too. And so I thought if I can get rid of some of these stock parts for better aftermarket parts, I'll go ahead and do that. Obviously, you need some push rods here. So these are the adjustable push rods. We went with fueling. Again, if you go back to that SNS kit, those push rods are in there. Push rod covers. I went ahead and went with the black ones. We actually got fueling ones, but I couldn't find the link to those, but I think fueling makes those, but they look pretty much the same. And it just is a little different. The stock on the Lowrider ST, they're that chrome. And so this is a little bit different. So I thought that's kind of cool. I'll just be a little bit different. This is not negotiable too. This is that outer crank sprocket that you need to replace. And so we bought the one from fueling. I went with the fueling injectors. We talked back and forth, Harley that makes some Screaming Eagle ones. There's a few other, I'm sure SNS makes some as well too. This is one of the things you really want to go talk to whoever is building your bike. And again, this is a big thing too. Injectors, depending on how high you want to go. If you're going to stage 3, stage 4, go ahead and get the 6.2s or 6.3s. I went with the 5.3s. It's as high as I'm going to go. From listening to some people talk about the 6.2s with the stage 2 only, on the Power Vision, on the DYNO jet, there's some, anybody that knows what they're doing is obviously going to be able to do it, but there's just some finagling and things that you have to do at a stage 2 with those 6.2 injectors, because it's a lot. You don't have to have those, from what I understand. Again, I'm not the expert here. Talk to your builder. But if you're just going to stage 2, these should be plenty for you, from what I understand. And then you got a ton of intake options. This is the SNS 55 millimeter. This is the cast one. You can spend twice as much and get the CNC ported one. This was fine for me. You definitely want to, in my opinion, you want to get rid of this. The stock is plastic, so you want to pull that junk out and put something in that's not plastic. And then, of course, the oil pump and cam plate kit. I went with the SNS. Fueling makes one as well. This is one of those kind of religious things, depending on what you want to do. Everybody that's going to get this is going to they're going to choose fueling, or they're going to choose SNS. Harley makes one as well, too. They make an aftermarket, non-stock version that you can put in a Screaming Eagle version of that. This guy that was putting my stuff together for the first, the guy I ended up not using, he was a big fan of changing out this oil control valve for this one from SNS. And so you can read down here, like the factory oil control valve on an M8 regulates the amount of oil flowing to the oil cooler and heads. The factory is a check ball retainer that's made of formed steel, and over time it can fatigue and break. The SNS control valve is 6061 billet aluminum, and the check ball retainer is machined from high strength steel for long lasting. So just an insurance policy there. Again, just kind of getting rid of some of the yucky stock stuff that's in there. These are a must, I think, too. These are plastic. These are lifters right here. And this is like a plastic piece by default. And so fueling makes these as well too. I went with the SNS ones. But you want to replace that. The other thing too that doesn't get talked about a lot when you're doing a cam upgrade is your clutch. And so some folks will do compensator, they'll do a new clutch, they'll do all kinds of stuff. From everybody I talked to with this stage 2, you don't need a new clutch. If you want to do a new compensator or something like that, you can. But you definitely want a little heavier clutch springs in there. And so there's several different models. I went with more of a mid-weight, but that's something to consider as well too. And then of course the other piece is, what are you going to do from an air breather perspective? I happen to be one of the weird ones, I guess, that likes the stock 117 on the Lowrider ST. And so this is something you can pick up from a dealer. You can just buy it. It's Harley priced, of course. This thing should be like $25. It's $85. But it's a little higher flow. So if you look at a stock 117, you can see it's that brown color, almost the same color as the elbow pipe itself. This is red, and it doesn't flow a lot more. You can see down here, it provides a little bit more flow. But I wanted to keep it if I could, and so we're gonna go with that. We're gonna go with this one and keep that thing stock. So that's an option for you there if you want to stay stock. This is going to be probably the best that you're going to get from an airflow perspective. And then the last piece here was this little short sump plug. So the stock one is about a half an inch, and this one's about, what is that, 0.26, a fifth of an inch or something like that, quarter of an inch. And so it's going to help with the oil flow. And obviously, when you're doing these stage 2 things, you want to have as much as good of an oil flow system there as you possibly can get, right? So the next thing that I'll flip over to here is my, and I'll probably just do this here and go through the cost, right? So these are the parts here, all the stuff that I just went through, and then I've got links here as well too, and I'll copy and paste these and put them into the description. And then here's the bill from my local shop. And then here's the total damage here. So for me, I kind of figured I was going to be just right under 4,000, like in 3,900. So there was a few things that we did extra that took us over the top there. There's a few $100 worth of labor, or a few $100 here that I figured it was going to be about $1,000. Ended up being a little bit higher than that. But overall in the ballpark. And so I'm pretty happy with that. So here, let's talk through this, and I'll bring up these other couple things that were going on, some other options or some other things that I've seen on the internet. But pretty basic stuff here. You can see here, these are some parts up at the top here as well. Let me get my mouse working right. So these are just parts up here. And then you get down here to the labor piece. So every place where it says L over here. So it's 4 hours to do the cam. I provided the parts. An hour and a half to do the manifold and the injectors. And then there was an hour for the clutch springs. And so if you do clutch springs, you're going to have to take the whole primary cover off. And you obviously means you're going to have to change primary fluid, and you got to get the foot control off on the left-hand side. So it's kind of a pain in the ass. So there's that part of it. And then another half an hour for that oil control valve and the sump plug. And that ended up being $1,261.07. I also have included over here for the DYNO right here. So they're charging me $575 for the DYNO. So this is everything. This is all the parts, all the labor, and the DYNO charge. So I'll put up a couple things here as well too over the top of this, and show you a couple different things. So one of them, the first one is if you went to a Harley dealer. I'm pretty sure from what I can tell, they do a 6-hour flat charge to do a cam. If you look at the screenshot, you can see there's two different options. So you can do it on the, let's call it on the cheap, right? Where you just get the basics. You get the cam and you get the gaskets, and you basically, they're going to put the stock oil pump back in. They're going to put the stock cam plate back in. They're not going to do any of these other things that we were talking about. It's not, you're not going to get the machined aluminum, the CNC'd aluminum TAPPET covers, and you probably get some lifters and some push rods and stuff like that, right? But that's it. And then you can add, you can see, so I think that was like $1,700-1,800. That includes the labor for that. And then I think it's another $700 or $800 for their aftermarket oil pump and cam plate. So that's like $2,500. And then the one that I saw that kind of started to give me a good idea as to where I was going to be was one from, it's a guy named Holy Shift, who's a lowrider ST rider and got a YouTube channel. He's a cool guy. But he went into a shop that he goes into all the time, and they kind of walked him through. It's a good video. I'll remember I'll link it down here. But here's a screenshot of what he did and what this shop charges. And this is pretty much what you should get from a shop. I mean, again, like I talked about before, cam upgrades, kind of table stakes. They should have a really good idea as to how much that's going to cost. And so this was in the $3,500 range. And so that was like, okay, cool. That's gives me a better idea as to if I go aftermarket parts and if I really kind of do this thing right, that's what it's going to cost. So that's where I ended up with my cam. And again, it's all done. The bike sounds great. I haven't been riding. I rode it for about 30 minutes. It's got the bass tune on it from Power Vision. And when I rode it home, I rode it for about 30 minutes and didn't really hammer it that hard. But there was a few spots where it would burn, like you could tell there was some cells in there that were wrong and needed some work. And when I start the bike up, it's pretty rich when you start the bike up. And so the first time you start it up after it's been off for a while, it, a bunch of smoke and stuff comes out, but once it gets warmed up, it's got this great idle lope to it, and it's super fun to ride. So I'm really happy that I did it. And for me, the performance is awesome. Obviously, having it sound like a Harley is awesome, but reliability was a big deal for me too. So I plan on taking this thing out on the road and doing some trips on it. And it's not just, you know, wide open throttle, drag racing. Let me go dyno tune it to see where I'm at. Wide open throttle with max horsepower, torque kind of stuff. And I can feel it already just riding it. It's a different bike for sure when you get a cam upgrade. So anyway, I'll go to a quick video that I recorded of just the sound, the audio of it, and but hopefully this helped everybody. And again, I was going to wait and do the dyno stuff at the end of this video, but I'm not. I'm just going to end it with the sound, and then I'll do a separate video on the dyno results. Anyway, thanks for stopping by. If you liked the video, you know, do all the stuff everybody wants you to do, like, subscribe, all that kind of fun stuff. Just kind of starting the channel here. If you have any questions, feel free to shoot them in the comments, and I'll answer whatever I can. But thanks. Here's the audio.